It was September 11th, 2001, and I was expecting a baby in about a month. My grandmother was supposed to be coming over to take me somewhere, but while I was getting ready, she called me and asked me if I was watching the news. I wasn't, so she insisted I turn on the television. A plane had hit one of the World Trade Center towers. I was horrified, but I didn't think that much about it. It was just a terrible accident, right? And then it happened. A second plane hit. At that moment, I knew there was no way this was accidental. One plane, sure. It could have been a plane malfunction or something. But two? No, it had to be intentional. Then the news reports came in about the other planes, and we all knew by then that we were under attack. You might think I started prepping right after it happened, but nope. It wasn't until more than a year later that I heard of prepping. Before that, I never really heard of it. I can't even remember how I heard of it, to be honest. But when I did, I was like, oh my God, I need to be doing this. So I went out and bought a machete, an emergency whistle with a compass built in, a 50-pound bag of pinto beans, and that was it. Yep, I just stopped. Part of the reason I stopped was financial. The company I was working for shut down my department, and I found myself unemployed and not being able to afford my rent anymore. It was a horrible time for me. I had to pack up my kids and myself and move back to my home state. I'd moved a couple of states away after my child was born, and 2 years later I was moving back. Things were crazy, and prepping just got shoved aside. Fast forward to 2012, I found myself married to my high school sweetheart. We had reunited on Facebook, realized we never stopped being in love with each other, and everything just fell into place. For the first time in more than a decade, I had an equal partner. I had help. I had true happiness. But I could never get prepping out of my head. I kept telling my husband we needed to prep, and he agreed, but we just kept making excuses about why we couldn't fit it into our budget. To be fair, we went through some periods of lower income, lots of financial hits like medical bills and unexpected huge utility bills, but we could have found a few bucks here and there if we had just made it a priority. Then in 2019, I finally decided it was time. It was summer, and I noticed a video in my playlist about food shortages. At first, I brushed it off. I didn't watch it. I was into other content, but it kept popping up over and over, even though I wasn't even subscribed to that channel or any other channels like it. So I finally watched it. Then I watched another one, and I fell down the rabbit hole and landed with a thud. Could it really be true? Were we headed for food shortages in the United States? It seemed far-fetched, but the more I learned, the more I realized it really could happen here. If not now, at least someday. And I began to think of all the times we had lower income than normal, or all those financial emergencies. If we'd had food prepped, those situations wouldn't have been as difficult. We could have put more money toward those financial issues rather than feeding ourselves and our kids. Prepping just made sense. I told my husband about the videos I'd seen and what I was thinking, and he agreed that it was way past time to get started. So I decided to start funneling every dime we could possibly spare into prepping. I'm not able to order a 1-year food supply or even a full month at a time. Those multi-$1,000 prepper food bucket packages would be great, but there's no possible way we could afford that. So I started small. I bought a case or two of bottled water, 25-pound bags of rice, 12 pounds of pinto beans, and some canned food every time I got paid. I worked in a few other items here and there, such as seasonings, sugar, canned butter, ghee, coconut oil, honey. A little here, a little there. In the past 5 months, I've managed to stock our pantry and several shelves with enough food to keep us alive and relatively healthy for several months. I'm a long way from where I want us to be. We live in an apartment, so storage space is seriously limited. We can't grow much of our own food, but I'm growing in several plastic storage tubs on our balcony and growing microgreens indoors. We've been saving up to buy a homestead, but we just keep getting hit with setbacks. Sometimes it feels like we'll never have one, but we're not giving up. My husband picked up a second job, and I've been trying to make extra money online. So why did I start prepping? Because things got real. I finally woke up and realized that just because we live in the US doesn't mean we're untouchable. Bad things can happen here. They will happen here. Just because we haven't had anything happen on a nationwide level in a long time doesn't mean it won't. And even if nothing major ever does happen to the whole country, things happen on a local level all the time. Hurricanes, floods, snowstorms, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes. Things like this happen all the time, and people who are caught unprepared suffer needlessly. If they just spent a few dollars a week buying extra water, batteries, food, firewood, they wouldn't have had to suffer. And all those times we went through our own temporary financial struggles wouldn't have been nearly as hard if we'd had most of our food and water needs stocked up. Look, if you're still here, and you're still listening to this, and you're not already prepping, I hope you'll take everything I said to heart. Don't make the same mistakes we did, making excuses for why it wasn't the right time to start prepping, or why we didn't have enough money, or why we didn't really need to. I look back and realize we could have started a long time ago, and we'd have had 2 or 3 years worth of food and supplies by now. We're so far behind because we waited so long. Please don't make that mistake. Start now. Even if you can only spend $1 a week, buy a bag of rice and tuck it away. Buy a bag of lentils or a few packs of ramen. Whatever you can do will make a difference. If you like this video, please hit the like button and leave a comment. If you're not subscribed, I hope you'll consider it, and hit that bell icon so you'll get notifications when I post new videos. This is Tara from Homestead Hopeful saying stay prepared, stay safe, and stay hopeful.